Mic camera action.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our April 2nd, hard to believe, West Salem Redevelopment Advisory Board. Welcome, everyone. Looks like we have some guests, maybe some public speakers. Oh, okay. Sorry. We're going to go ahead and start with the approval of the agenda. Oh, roll call, sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's Tori.
Smell or us.
Present.
Jeremy McCarty. John Hannah, present. Ashley Moore.
Here.
Thomas Crozier. Here. Zachary Fisher. Here. Douglas Meltzer. Greg Sharn. Here. Yeah.
Nice. Approval of agenda now. Get that motion to approve. Thank you. Second. Perfect. And then the approval of the meeting minutes stated for March 5th and February 5th. Sure. Public comment? No. Anyone else? Okay. Action items, we have none. That's maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, not sure. And then our discussion and reports. We've got the Center Street Bridge seismic retro project. And we have some guests to speak on that, and I can do the slideshow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Anna Henson. I'm the area manager for ODOT. And with me today, I have Bob Goodrich and Jared Trowbridge. They're with Dowell, our design consultants. And we're gonna talk about our Center Street Bridge retrofit, seismic retrofit project that's going into construction late January, fingers crossed, of next year. We will talk about potential impacts. We will talk about, that includes traffic impacts. We have that at kind of really high level. We're still working all those details out. And maybe we're touching on a little bit of public outreach as well. We've been going to a lot of groups to discuss this. Right now, we're in a official public comment period for our potential impacts to the parks, both Wallace Marine Park and Riverfront Park, and the Willamette River Water Trail, which is an official trail, so it's considered a protected resource. So we're here to answer questions if you have it. We'll go through the presentation first. I'm not sure if Jared or Bob's taking the lead. Okay, and then I would just say if you have questions, raise your hand and we can stop. We can stop, right? We could be interrupted. Okay. And thank you for having us here. I've been here in front of this group before, just talking about ODOT's general upcoming construction projects. This is front and center for us right now. I can just tell you right now. We were on expedited delivery, and so it's very exciting, and it's an important project. Okay, so welcome. Thank you.
So yeah, Jared Trowbridge is going to talk about the Center Street Bridge seismic retrofit project. Next slide. So quick agenda, give our project overview, go over the project schedule, talk about the anticipated impacts, review the construction schedule, and then answer any questions. And as Ian said, just raise your hand if you have a question as I go. So project overview. So the project is going to seismically retrofit the Center Street Bridge in the event of a major earthquake. Through design development, it was split into 2 phases, and we are currently working on phase 1, which will retrofit the river spans and east approaches. We're also working with the city to upgrade the water line across the river and make it seismically resilient. And then we're going to come up with an emergency response plan if there is a major event before phase 2 happens to connect the river span down to the west side. And then we are gonna conduct a phase 2 alternative study to look at replacement. So the phase 2 will replace a portion of the west approaches. Timing of that is funding dependent. Some of the impacts on the west side are gonna be similar to what's gonna happen in phase 1.
When you say funding dependent, are we talking about federal dollars that aren't allocated to the project, or is the project so the project's not fully funded?
I can answer that. Phase 1 is, so the retrofit of, so this kind of aqua, I don't know, to me it looks aqua blue. The river spans in the east ramps, to the east ramps will be funded.
Okay.
We don't have it in our STIP yet, which is our programming. Sorry, that's not state transportation implementation plan. We don't have it in STIP yet. But they're talking about bonding. And I think we get into costs on one of the slides. Oh, we don't, okay.
No.
It's we're still refining our costs, and so probably this coming fall, we'll be getting that funding into the STIP. Phase 2 is not funded.
Okay.
The study is to figure out what we're gonna do, the design study on how we're gonna replace the west ramps. And then the emergency plan is also funded as part of phase 1 too. So phase 1 also, sorry. So yeah. That answer your question?
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
phase 1's good to go, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure.
So this has some animation, so you'll need to click through here. I know there's a little delay. So we're gonna be replacing the bridge pier on the west river bank. That would be seismically resilient for the river spans, but then also accommodate whatever that future replacement is on the west side. Strengthening the bridge foundations in the river. There's 3 piers in the water and then one bend that's kind of on the east river bank. And then enlarging footings and strengthening connections on the east approach, the main approach and the southbound ramp. Being seismically retrofitted. And then as I mentioned, we're gonna upgrade and make the water line across the river seismically resilient, and we're doing some relocation work on both sides to accommodate the seismic retrofit work. Schedule, so we're in the middle of our design schedule currently, moving pretty quickly here at the end, working through permitting. Hoping to start right away, I think May, June timeframe. Working through railroad approvals, and then as Anna mentioned, we're looking to bid and award the project in January of 2026. And then anticipating the contractor would get started in the spring of next year.
Utilities, do we have other than water line on the center, or are they all on the center?
On the bridge.
Yeah.
We're only dealing with the city water line. Underground utilities on the east side, like on Water Street and through the park. We're working with Boomland and Northwest Natural and some other utilities to get them out of the way for the bridge, for the footing work we have to do.
Will the water line be fully complete in phase 1, or will that, okay?
Yep, so it'll be fully complete, and we're working with the city on kind of the period of time it would be shut down while we replace and upgrade the line.
How long will it be shut down?
So about 4 months, I think.
I think they like October to May, and
Yeah.
through the winter, they said we could shut it down, so 6, 7 months maybe.
All right, this I think has some animations as well. So we're gonna have work platform and cofferdams in the river. There will be some river work going on, I think, for the full three plus year duration of construction. They'll only have 2 cofferdams in at a time, just to mitigate kind of temporary flood impacts. There will be a recreational channel for users, kind of delineated with buoys in the water, between the first 2 piers on the west side. And then a navigational channel for any larger boats that come through on the east side of the channel. We are having some staging and tree removal in both parks, in the bridge lands and in both city parks, working with city staff to mitigate impacts and make sure it's still accessible to the public. The riverfront parking lot, it's hard to see, but there's some more parking, I think, on the south side. But working with the city to make sure that I think about half the parking is available and then mitigating other parking losses nearby.
I feel like, just a comment rather than a question, I feel like there's a ton of parking down there. It's not being utilized most of the time.
Within the park?
And down in the parking lot, as to where that dock goes.
Oh,
I think it's one of
On
those
that
things.
side.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So some traffic impacts, we are looking at a handful of nighttime full closures and working with ODOT. I think we're talking more in depth with city staff early next week about emergency response during that time and kind of an alternative path across the river for emergency vehicles. There will be some extended kind of 2-lane closures for a few months on Center Street. So I think working with public outreach to message that well ahead of time and make sure the public's well aware.
So if you do a full nighttime closure, are you planning to go on the area? What's the alternate route?
Yes, there's been some discussion on that. The current plan is to have just detours down to Corvallis or Newburgh. And then having emergency access, 1 lane on Marion Street is the current proposal.
And again, this is in the evening.
Yes,
What time do you start in the?
I think 10 or 11 PM to 5 AM.
Yeah.
Or 5 AM. I think we're still working on the exact hours of those closures.
And we will like message this, like, you guys are just gonna get sick of it. Because we just want people to stay home if possible during that time. Like, it's, the hardest part, I think, for us is to message it to folks that are coming from out of the area, right? Like, you know, people come from Portland, come through here to go to the casino or go to the coast. And getting the messages out to those folks is gonna be tough. It is. There's gonna be.
Or just the folks that live in West, maybe nurses, doctors
Yeah.
that have, you know,
Yes.
graveyard, so they'll have to make maybe some accommodations to stay.
We should, we have talked to Salem Health, but I don't know if like, we've talked to that level.
Andrew's discussion got into that.
I think that's.
There's also the route through Independence too,
Yeah.
that's probably get a lot of additional traffic.
Yeah, naturally, just go through there unless it's.
Can't do
right?
trucks though. That's high
Well,
vegetation.
yeah, that's lately been a problem, hasn't it? There's been like a couple trucks stuck there. And then if it floods, that road can. And so, but I think you're right. I think naturally people are gonna wanna go that way, the local folks
Yeah.
that live in the area.
As far as the healthcare side, I have 2 that were both night workers, one that still is. They're from 7 to 7, so it's more if there's an influx, there's a demand at the hospital, then they're gonna have to get there somehow.
Okay,
So actually,
okay. I think that's a really good point though, that maybe sometimes hospitals will work with ODOT and they'll change shifts, you know, to accommodate when we're gonna have a road closed, so that's something we can coordinate with them.
We've had issues on the bridges and paths, they talked about putting 2-way traffic on signals.
And you said you were thinking about that for Marion, the Marion side.
So
Emergency vehicle.
Oh, just, oh, okay.
We looked at doing it for all traffic. And just decide, you know, for nighttime closures, it's a lot of work to set up the traffic controls. And it just didn't seem that it was worth it if we can
Yeah.
keep it to, you know, late night closures and.
I think they estimated 4 hours to set up or something like that, traffic control, and 4 hours to take it down and. Yeah, that,
For a 6 hour.
for a 6 hour, that makes sense, yeah.
So there will be some lane closures on Front Street, northbound. I think southbound will be open continuously, the 1 lane. And then a couple of nighttime closures of the Marion Street on ramp to to move traffic around, there's a bridge footing right adjacent to the ramp that we have to excavate down to.
I think that ramp closure will be a few weeks. Oh, longer, yeah.
Construction schedule, I think we're envisioning about 3 years or so of construction total. The first work is some water line relocation on the east side. To move it out of the way for the seismic retrofit work, and then also starting to build the work platforms from walls and some of the coffer dams. Like I said, that in-water work will be going on continuously throughout the project, and then starting the east side bridge construction in 2027. And then continuation of that into 2028, and then hopefully completing the work in Wallace that year and doing the water line upgrade on the bridge. In 2029, finishing the east side work and reconstructing part of the riverfront parking lot that's being used for staging.
Well, this is worth mentioning. Andrew Walker's our project manager, and he's in Kentucky at a bridge symposium, which is why I'm here today. But Andrew's your contact, and that's his phone number and his email address. This QR code, which I can't remember, Tori, if it was on the sheet. Yes, probably takes you to, it does take you to our webpage, project webpage, which has Andrew's contact information on it. And also you can just reach out to me, Tori has my contact information if you have any like follow-up questions or think of something afterward. You know, when we're done, ask.
We have been doing presentations to different neighborhood associations and different groups around the city. There's an open house next Thursday. So go to the webpage and sign up for updates. You'll get emails periodically about this.
Yeah, that's an in-person open house. It'll be drop-in style. We'll have stations with various folks to answer specific questions. And it's gonna be at Pringle Hall city building, so 5 to 7.
Sounds right.
Yeah, 5 to 7. Okay.
Any chance that phase 2 can incorporate a longer version of Safeway?
Oh, on off of Wallace?
Oh, back at Rosemont.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good question.
I live in West Salem, would come downtown that way.
It's hard to merge it with 7.
It can be pretty
Yeah.
hairy.
I think we don't know what that fix looks like yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the study that Jared mentioned, probably next year, will kind of look at a few different options for either, replacing or doing some modest changes to improve.
I've always enjoyed the waterfront pathways to Corvallis and Eugene have. And it would be an opportunity if we're redoing that edge. There's kind of double-edged sword to that. It becomes a highway for humans, but that could be good or bad.
But you guys are doing great. I got contacted 2 weeks ago. So you do, that's really awesome.
Well, thank you
You
guys.
guys are getting nails.
We had our third party.
Ellen, her
Yeah,
name is.
yeah, we'll go out and do a bunch of hands and following up with phone calls, and I think that's been really beneficial.
Yeah, no, that's great. I just happened to get the call and I was like, oh, yeah, awesome. It's very helpful, so.
Yeah, well, that's good. Glad to hear the efforts are paying off.
Yeah, the community's had a lot of concerns about the bridges, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, earthquake and mobility,
Yeah.
loss of water. I would think that there might be concerns around the tree removal. Was there a replanting plan? So maybe incorporating that as you're going out or having an open house. So I think, especially when you're in parks, you're probably here.
Absolutely.
What's the plan to make it look
Yeah.
like it did?
For the past 18 months or so, we've been coordinating heavily with the city, parks specifically, but also just in general, city coordination, but There's some concerns about the trees that have to be removed. I mean, the trees have to be removed in order for us to work in the park, right, the bridges in the park. And that's part of the public comment period I was talking about is for those park impacts, which includes tree removal, but also mitigation plan. Like, we will be replanting the trees. And we will be rebuilding the parking lot that we're gonna occupy for a little bit in Riverfront Park, not a little bit, probably for the full 3 years, right? And so we're mitigating that with parking off-site. And we'll provide during the big events, like during World Beat and Iron Man and was it Taco
Northwest Taco
Northwest
Fest,
Taco Fest.
Easter Fest.
and the Easter Festival. Those are like the largest events in that park, and so we'll be providing shuttles from the parking to the park, from the off-site parking to the park, as well as the city wants some park ambassadors to kind of help people get to the events. So that's kind of part of our mitigation, but it has been it's been a lot of conversations with the city. Yeah, so, and I think we're gonna be improving some of the tree walls in the parking lot, right, making them bigger and you're still gonna lose those mature trees. But. That's
Yeah, but you can, in the park, you can see a lot of the tree erosion damaging inside.
Yeah,
Because the wells weren't large enough for the soil. And it built those to current standards. And once the trees mature, it'll be better.
yeah.
Are you going to be able to maintain the boat ramp access?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wondering if it wasn't available, whether or not Willamette now that they moved their crew access down, and whether or not that be an alternative. You had to close.
Willamette River Queen moved their access.
No,
Oh.
Willamette University had a crew house. Where would you say that is? It's just past Urban.
Capital Manor,
Oh.
Yeah,
Jason.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
and there is access in there, but it's private property.
Oh, okay.
The contractor will need to use the boat, but on a periodic basis, just like anyone else in the public, so that's the only use.
This is the contractor on this.
We don't have one yet.
This is after bid.
Yeah, it'll go out for bid in January. So. Whoever's a little bit
It's
is,
kind of exciting.
Are the businesses on the east side under there really gonna be affected? You know, like Gilbert House looks like right under.
yeah, and they're not, there may be some periodic noise, right? But we're meeting with the Gilbert House.
I think next week.
Yeah, staff to talk about that. There was, I'm sorry, I can't remember the director's name, but Alicia, when we were at Sprout, the Salem Parks Recreation Advisory Board, she was online and I think she put a question in there. She was concerned about vibrations, and noise, and so we're gonna do that one-on-one with her staff, so. The parking will be still available for the Gilbert House. I'm pretty sure we're not impacting that, so. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, some of the parking mitigation, that lot kind of north of the Gilbert House, once you get out from under Marion Street, is all permit or paid parking. And we're talking to the city about maybe that being, making that free parking for the duration of the construction to
yeah.
kind of offset. And Alicia seemed appreciative of that approach, so we'll see.
I assume you're driving piling out in the water, and then you're driving abutments as well.
I guess on the East River bank, we'd be driving, because the driving pile is mostly for building more platforms. And then in the river around the bridge piers, we drive more piles, so. So yes, but we've looked at some vibration guidance from Federal Transit Authority in terms of like different construction activities and distance from receptors to the vibrations. And we don't anticipate any impacts from any of the construction activities. On any of the buildings in the warehouse complex.
You mentioned the Federal Transit Authority.
And that's only because they have in their NEPA guide, the National Environmental Policy Act guidance, to do a scan for high level impacts. They have some guidance on operation, just so that separate from anything to do with transit, it's just in their document. So that's what we use as a reference. But for pile driving and bulldozers and compactors and dump trucks and whatnot.
So fascinating. Folks just don't realize what goes into a bridge. So,
It's pretty fun.
yeah.
I mean, it's construction, right? So. There are costs to mitigate. And we won't have those loud construction activities going on during those large park events. We did make that commitment. So.
Any questions, Ruth?
It's online. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
having us. Appreciate it.
So we're just gonna go ahead and move forward to, our latest on the projects. Bye, thank you again. Cory.
Yeah, not a lot as far as new updates at Second Street, so we did a tour, last. It's looking quite hot, but.
Yeah.
I remember being, so we toured the area, so obviously Second Street's done, but they're having changes to Rain Suite, that's been taken down a little bit further, it can still retain some of the lower decking area.
Yeah.
It still has to. Yeah. And I shared development plans, so initially there was a concept, that would utilize that existing concrete, and then the new plans that, conceptual looks at a lot of different development approaches. It's a big site, so breaking it up into like 3 to 5 different types of development. Obviously, you get closer to Wallace, it starts to have more of the commercial retail side of it. Then as you get to the west side, there's some different types of housing approaches that we talk about. So we shared that with the group. They have 3 different scenarios of like how that configuration would work. Again, the more higher density with some of the commercial retail would be on the Wallace and Edgewater side, and then some different type of housing approaches as you get west.
So you gonna sell that or is it developing himself?
Right now it's being marketed.
It is, okay.
Yeah, so it was the efforts of the broker to promote the site, to sell it ultimately.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything new as far as transfer, they're still in that process of. The broker that's worked for the owner shared it with me pretty early. She couldn't be here to present it when she was going out of town, but it was like. As soon as they had something put together, we shared it. But nothing new as far as it's been sold. We'll start to move. What activity I've seen out there, because I've been out there for various reasons, grants and other project and checking on project things. There has been more dirt and cleanup, like it's just an effort of demolishing and prepping the site. The work that I've seen has been for that. So, but it looks good. It's making it available and ready to go. So hopefully we'll have more to report that soon.
That's exciting. It'll be fun to see what happens there. It's kind of an eyesore.
Yeah.
It's been an eyesore.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than having the.
So be ready to
cheerleading
bridge
really.
already.
Yeah. So
Anything on Baxter?
Baxter, no, yeah, I think everything's still operating. And then. There's some activity as far as the clutch properties along Second Street, mostly just getting those buildings ready for tenants. My understanding from them was that as soon as they get tenants in there and they have cash flow, then they'll look at dressing it up a little bit more, maybe breaking up the spaces to include additional tenants depending on demand. And then eventually going vertical with other uses, office or housing, depending on where the market is. So, I haven't really seen anything there other than on the south side, as you follow 10th Street, west to east, or just the south side in general, just getting at that new siding, building work on that side. So on the north side where we have our art well, so the art well was put in for the art monument that we had funding for. That's also around the corner of Patterson and Second. So my hope would be that now that they've done the siding work and addressed those older buildings, the little four-foot buildings on the south side, that they do something north. This looks, it's cleaned up significantly from what it was, but it still looks harsh right there. So the art right there, I mean, the building and everything is fine. It's just one of those things that'd be nice to see. So as soon as that, be eager to share as soon as they start to see something out there. So. No, it's just taken a process. We've had some staff changes as far as the staff person who worked with Salem Public Arts Commission. So that process, and person, it's going out. They have to contract with the artist. So as we have all that stuff finalized, share an update on that. I think as far as what that art will look like, we've already provided them suggestions as far as what you'd like to see based on the district and the area. And we had a few exercises 2 years ago now, where we went through and prioritized some things to see in the art piece, and how that's materialized will be, I think, there won't be any progress updates, it'll just be, it'll be there, it is, we're gonna put it
Well, when
in.
you- I
So
feel
hopefully
like-
everyone.
I think it would still be cool to bring, I don't know, like have some sort of like an unveiling, because people aren't gonna know unless we let them know. Because not a lot of people, not everyone in West Salem drives by Patterson and Second.
Yeah.
So bringing, what is the word I'm looking for, drawing? People know it's there.
Well, we got.
No, I did like-
For it, like you want to break up.
Yeah, like put it out on our Instagram website.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely will put
Have
it out.
Salem Chamber there, like Tom Hoffer, I'm sure he would love that.
I think it's website, yeah, we'll definitely promote it, on the website, and happy to put some coordinate shirts on this, news. As far as like getting everyone out there, art's
Like
subjective,
a big
so.
red veil.
On one hand, you probably have people like, yes, that's exactly what I visioned, and then you might have on the other one, like, we made it, yeah, what was it supposed to be? So. It would be nice to get, we could do another thing, so we could go out there and check it out. We could go
Board selfie up there.
yeah, just board something, get the ball rolling.
With our links on social media.
Yeah,
These are the
Go
people in
live,
charge of
Really
this.
good.
yeah.
And I've also noticed that on the art topic downtown, the electrical boxes, the
Yeah.
wraps, I've
Yeah.
noticed those everywhere and they're so, they're eye catching.
Yeah.
So,
We've talked about that doing in West Salem, do you like we see? Is it? So, okay,
it's very
because
cool.
we have plenty in West Salem as well, so, I can get, getting more art.
Awesome. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so Derek in our office, and we got a couple of, and then he's been really hard to get the other art. So it's just everywhere now, so we're getting a lot of
It's like
feedback.
a once or
Awesome.
twosies and all of a sudden it was just
Yeah.
like everywhere. It's like, it's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen them up in a lot of Seattle Bay Area too.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, so I can follow up with that, and I think what we can do is identify, some come to mind. When I went out there, there's some around Wall Spring Park, Edgewater, and West Salem Park. West Salem Park has a lot where you, the downside to that is it's not as visible, so unless you're going to Safeway, you're driving that way, or you're visiting that park, it's not gonna be like you are downtown. You might park or go get something to eat and you'll notice it because there's so much traffic. That park is not as busy, but the people around it would appreciate it. So it's one of those things where it's like, it dresses it up as a park area, it's not feasible. Happy to look into that, identify those. So as far as the art piece, then my guess is it'll take several months for the artist to come up with an idea, make the sculpture. As soon as we get that feedback, it's ready to go in and have it work out to you guys, We are combining it with the 3 other ones in downtown. So at the same time, so this whole proposal is going out. It's 2, they only have 2 or 3 for downtown. So, a lot of art going downtown and what's saying.
Very cool. I'm at Kaiser, they have all those different ones all over Kaiser Station. River Road.
Yeah.
The rest of looking popular.
So the other project we have is the connecting Edgewater Parkway path to the Union Street Bridge path. Basically what that does is it connects cross Musgrave through private property to Union Street Bridge path. So we're in negotiation right now with the neighbors. So we're hoping there's some concern around camping, security, storage units have had break-ins, so they're concerned about that. I've gone out to the park and it definitely feels better as far as the housed presence. But there are in the trees, I think, area that might be impacted by clearing. There's some tents out there. I was surprised to see that or something last week. So I think that's some of the concern. They're from out of state, Washington, right? So they see things in downtown or in West Salem the way that it was in Wall Spring Park. And they fear that by having this path cut through, they dedicate property that's going to have tents lining and people don't walk that part of it, use that connection. So we're working through some of that to making sure their sites is secure, using fencing materials that can't cut through and look good. And, we've shared in our design approach, we want to replicate the lighting. So the Union Street Bridge path has some unique antique lights that we replicate through there. So we try to do what we can to make it bright, let's see. Hopefully the community uses it and there's enough activity that it's a deterrent to that type of other activity. So that's questions on. So I'm hoping the next time I can get up here in 6 months. Hopefully have more. As progress, we'll know more for sure about that private property. We're successful and who owns it. Who owns the storage? So you've got on the east side, it's a storage facility. West side, same time.
Yeah.
The LLC called specifically.
Oh, I thought maybe there's some.
No, yeah, the owners of the storage are not. They're from Washington.
That'd be nice just to have a fence around a storage unit, or they could do like a upgrade. Or facelift, well. Just make that whole pathway. So I feel like the lights on 2nd Street are sort of kind of the same on that walkway, the old fashioned looking.
Yeah.
And there might be
Kind of a little bit different.
black though, like.
The black, it definitely is an antique look, but it's not like those, I think it has the arch to it. It's like so the traffic ones are cobra heads and how they refer to it. What the specific has a curve to it, the Union Street Bridge lights. So it's antique, even not the same. as 2nd Street.
I notice things like that, I don't know, if it's because I'm a
Design
woman or, yeah, for sure. Very good. Any more questions, you guys, on projects or fair land around Salem?
So Was it urban development money that paid for second? Yes. Redevelopment. Yes. And we know we're gonna have a quiet period because there isn't funding. Well, where there's no real projects engaged. Is there any sense of when that's going to build up enough resources to do a significant project of some form in the future?
What did you have in mind? So I have to look, I think we have about 3 years worth of, so maximum debt, this is a threshold award toward and renewal, so we can use funds to a point. I think we have around 3 years worth. I don't know what the total amount is, I have to go back to the financing documents to see what the amount is. I think we've talked some redevelopment, property acquisition, that kind of, that would be maybe the direction, because there's been a lot of transportation focus that urban influence is being used for. So we did a lot of improvements around Edgewater, Rosemont, Second Street, pockets, multi-use path of the Wall Spring Park. So looking at redevelopment type of thing, did you have something?
Well, the one that seems to, in my head, is the one you mentioned, is Patterson. Getting kind of it's a more primary Lake Beach. But it doesn't have the same presentation.
Yeah.
In fact, it's.
So addressing those buildings. So
I don't know.
okay. That's
But it gets a lot more traffic than the other passageways. I don't know what we do with future, is that you feed projects or do we weigh into that?
Oh, no, yeah, definitely weigh in. So it's staff's advisory to the agency as well as you guys. So what we would do in that case, that's why I mentioned if you have something that you identify as a problem or maybe a opportunity fix or something in West Salem, raise it to our attention and we can talk about it. So what we could do is, depending on what that is, the agency ultimately decides, but they could provide direction as far as we have 2 to 3 things that we identify as funding opportunities. We can help prioritize those. We didn't want to refine that too. So it's one thing to say like, pick a site, redevelop it. We have to do some due diligence to make sure that that's not going to open up a lot of different things. So we did Second Street, for example, along that north side of talking about near Patterson. There were building encroachments from previous uses into the city right of way. So as we were getting design was completing, we're moving out to bid for construction. Like you gotta get your encroachments out of the way because as soon as we're in a contract moving, and we found a train tanker, oil tankers underground. So I had to put a stop and call in lawyers and environmentalists, make sure that it's right there to near the river, ground waters close to the depth is not very far down. So anyway, there everything's good. Disposal, so that we would have to do our own. Like once we pick up those few opportunities that we talked about, we want to drill down and make sure that everything's going to be what's the best thing for the buck, so to speak. Because the funds will be limited, but you'll definitely have say recommendation helping the agency be directed.
Yeah, because I see that in phase 2, whatever they come up with this as being, a dream opportunity to get some sort of a
That's a good point.
pathway along the river that would tie ultimately old pathway that would have to Dogs. You can envision some fun spots that could be enhancing, and I don't know what that'll look like with what they're proposing, but there's probably a few opportunities to grab that.
Write that project and do some
Well,
enhancements.
I would hope that maybe that be a merge to make it a little more cost effective, but
That's a good point. They're already out there, so might as well take advantage of it.
it's, I can envision that it's gonna probably be waiting for federal funding again. To get a phase two out there, but just because of the numbers involved.
So that, good question on that. So phase one's obviously ready to go. They're doing their due diligence. We're gonna be starting that in January 2026. So phase two is yet to be funded. Okay,
Phase one's not gonna be done until 20.
so hopefully you're on one side of the bridge when the earthquake hits.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of it.
That was a joke. That was a joke. You will be.
I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that, somewhere.
Yeah, that's a long time, 3 years.
This is gonna be a taste of what that would be like.
Right, yeah.
Your isolation, I mean, I've never heard anybody envision that we aren't transporting across the Willamette from the ferry at best, potentially Newburgh, all the way down to Independence. Thanks.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Well, thank goodness it doesn't affect me. I'm just kidding. All right, any more discussion?
I did a question about First Street, we're gonna get on what's going on back there. Discussion on development.
Yeah, so First Street, that's vacated, that's now an alley, and so we maintain public activity through there. And there've been a few concepts, not really anything that's, all of this, that I've seen, well. On one side, I've heard a few different scenarios, one, it could be, office or mixed use type of thing, or it could be for entertainment, like a food truck. So that was the more late, that initially going into the vacation was, we want to do this housing mixed use project, and then, so I was surprised to hear coming out of the neighborhood as we're vacating, they're looking at it. So, like that. It's very common, all the communities now, we have one here, as you go out, Center Street or State Street, as you go out, where they
The
have.
yard.
Yeah, the yard, you have like a common space and you have the routes to be smaller, it's not as big a site. And you do have one in that same as you go north, you're headed toward the west side, that's really a nice area out there.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
pavilion.
pretty cool.
Done a nice job.
Yeah.
I think that was on the market for sale.
The apartments. The apartment, it has been for 3 years. During development.
Yeah, that'd be both phase one and phase two, right?
So concepts,
They own that
not
land that is partially initiated.
Yeah.
I think they dropped utilities in there.
Mhm.
Have planned, I don't remember. Fair number. It's extended, kind of L shaped.
What was the situation? They had funding for the apartments with First Interstate and then something. Do you know that?
I don't know exactly. I know that due to interest rate changes, we changed funding. I mean, we were projected when they first started, so obviously today, so. I don't know if it's changed, but since we had that listing, I know at the time, the developer was willing to sell and then he contracted to finish project. Through the buyer's funding, essentially, they do a partial carry.
And that's gonna be multi-family as well.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, it's fully occupied, so the current apartments. But I'm actually really surprised on how well they maintain the parking with what they have right now, just for the food trucks and
Right, that's a good, I've never had an issue. So.
So when you say First Street, is that by the bookstore?
Yeah, so
What
behind
uses
the
is
bookstore.
Definitely, yeah. Like half the street there.
After it leads into Goodwill.
It's got a clear story on the first. Daylight basement, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to the north.
I was thinking.
No, I think, yeah, no plans, but I've talked to them, they're good.
Well,
The
yeah.
bookstore, yeah.
No, oh, but I thought you said that there was a vacate already.
Oh, no, the street is vacated.
Oh, I see what
Sorry.
you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, so it used to be, it was going to be a local street, so Second Street's a local street, so you have to do that same type of improvement on First Street, wouldn't. So it was a huge hang-up for redeveloping that area because it's. You don't go with it, and it's considerable. Yeah, it used to go through Goodwill and they vacated the majority portion, so all it is move up to Second.
Yeah. Isn't just the bookstore building?
Yeah, so.
Or the.
There's a storage, like a parking or something.
Yeah, there's something right over there. Beside.
Yeah, the fenced in. That thing, the first one, or is that the other, that's the second street?
Yeah, so the rain suite area is.
I know what you're talking about, yeah, it's fenced in, there's some cars in there,
Yeah.
I guess it's almost.
Oh, so you're talking about,
Yeah.
It's art.
Yeah, actually, that's what we paid for, guys, that's our art.
Funded by everybody.
It's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah,
It's all over.
Oh, yeah. No, everything, yeah, that's all in the, yeah, so they don't. Plan that I saw initially, before we went to food carts was because of the floodplain, they have to build a building up, so they have parking. So they have it.
It's probably our definition.
They have to do so much work to
Oh,
elevate
yeah,
it. I've ever seen like.
talk about real estate.
Earth,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's like five stuff.
Yeah, you guys are doing that, work out there for a long time.
Oh my god. That's. There's always water. Especially. I'd still like to see it right in, right out where people want to go to talk about things right there. I think,
Oh, yeah, right there.
again, I saw, almost a kilo the other day.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, I think if traffic can get redirected for those apartments through the. Cause it is a road that goes past, McDonald's there, back to the light. It's waiting to happen. I mean. See people sweep it up. Mess every now
I'm
and then.
surprised people still, or just use that just because it is so hairy right there. I avoid that at all costs. And I'm not talking about watching my kind of better. So, yeah.
That's goodness, some volume increase, people are obstinate about doing laps.
You're crossing,
What is
two lanes, yeah. I don't know how
Yeah.
Lighthouse Lending Building is certainly coming up after such a long period of time. Bill's on the West Salem Business Association board, so I always ask him, so what's the update? When are you gonna move in? What's going on? What's the date out? So he's pretty excited. I think he's forecasting to be back in the building May-ish, middle of May. And then he divided it, so he'll have a tenant in there or two.
Have anything report that was exposed with their.
No. If anything, she just kind of spoke to where she came from and how she got where she is. We talked about the homelessness or the houseless issue. and they're working on that. That's always the topic of discussion. So nothing that she didn't speak to when she did the state of the city. So it wasn't. But I just, there was a lot of questions, a lot of people showed up, we had 30+ people, which was awesome. But she's just so down to earth, and she I think thinks like we do, as far as there's a huge problem, there's issues, the budget that came up. So they're working on that. The interim city manager was there, seems like a girl. I thought it was a gal that was here,
Yes.
and then there was a gentleman that was there. I'm not sure who he was, but he was some sort of interim city. So, talked a little bit about the budget, just a little bit about the state of the city. She was at downtown. So it's good stuff.
Do you know what the agenda is for the West End Neighborhood Association meeting this week, tomorrow?
Neighborhood?
Neighborhood meeting at Apple Manor.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't have one this one. As Tori's looking at, we can move forward. Any more questions or?
I have it.
Oh,
So it's tomorrow, April 3rd. Apple Manor, 6:30 p.m. The agenda is Schmidtman Community College, Center Street Bridge, retrofit, so we're all there. Sheriff Mark Carton, Police Chief Womack, and Mayor Julie Ward, so.
everybody.
Yes.
Everybody got one. You gonna go? Who's on?
I'm trying to figure out coverage. For a little bit.
Okay. Latest from West Salem organization, so April 24th, we've got Salem Kaiser candidates and Polk County Fair. Wild Warhorse and a gentleman, I think his name's Pat, so they'll be speaking just a few minutes, but Fielders are gonna put the Salem Kaiser candidates together, so interesting to see what they have to say. But I was gonna mention Ellen, the gal that probably reached out to you. She'll be speaking with Tom Hoffer in the May meeting about the seismic retrofit, and she'll have ODOT there too, so I'll announce that next meeting. But we've got some good speakers coming, so. That's pretty much it from the West Salem organization, and then the next meeting topics.
So we're going to do a renewal update. So I've been doing projects downtown, so I speak to that. We might have someone else just to say that for me. Sarah is project manager for North Gateway, and she also helps with the downtown. Might have her help me with the split tasks on downtown. She can speak to the Gateway projects.
Okay, I think we're adjourned. Anything for the good of the group? You awesome board members. Over here. Okay.